How close are we to collapse? And what are the things that lead to collapse? You know, it's environmental stuff. It's human sacrifice.
Yeah.
I mean, we do that.
Kinda.
We do.
So Mel Gibson went on Joe Rogan. I'm not sure if anyone in the audience listened to this. So let's start with this clip, and then I have a question after this clip.
The first canonized saint, you know who it was?
No.
The first ever confirmed canonization as a saint was Dismas. You know who Dismas was?
No.
He was the thief on the cross next to Jesus.
Oh.
And he says to
Rogan.
him, "You're going to be
Rogan's like,
okay.
what?
This day you'll be with me." Unbaptized, criminal, all that stuff. So
Wow.
the lawmaker is above the law. So there's a lot of mercy.
Well, the whole thing was like that. He's Mad Max. He's a little crazy.
Good.
This was my take on it. This is Catholic guests on Joe Rogan podcasts. We had Bishop Barron as Tiger Woods. Mel Gibson's the crazy uncle smoking the cigarette on the golf
Wait,
course.
do you know who that is? Okay, and finally get to test you. Who is that?
I don't know who the guy is. I don't know who that
Like,
is.
who's ignorant now? That's
I
John
know.
Daly. Come on
Well,
now.
there we go. Gosh.
Legendary golfer, golf's barefoot.
I don't know who John Daly is, but I do know how we acquired Alaska. Let's just,
Yes.
point that out. I mean, I don't know if the scales are even, but we'll let the audience be the judge of
Although,
that.
From
I
the
did.
top rope.
Erika, you listened to most of this interview. Overall
Yeah.
thoughts on Mel on Rogan?
I love listening to crazy people, and he is a little bit off his rocker, but it was an incredible witness from a hands down massive Hollywood celebrity. Huge. I'm a huge fan of his for The Patriot, for Braveheart, obviously, and The Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto. And he talks about his movie career throughout the interview, but he's someone who, watching Rogan try to understand him was awesome. And I think he got under Rogan's skin in a way that like a Bishop Barron didn't, because he is more emotive. He is more artistic in the way that he presents his faith.
I mean, just recently they verified the Shroud of Turin. Have you seen that?
Well, it's such a crazy thing to even try to verify. Like, what are you saying? You're saying that this is really the shroud that Jesus was covered in? So you're saying Jesus historically absolutely did exist, and we think that this is the shroud that covered him.
Now, that being said, if you go watch it, he is a sedevacantist. He does not believe that the Catholic Church under Francis is actually the Catholic Church founded by Christ anymore. He thinks it's like this weird parallel church, and like
No,
he
he's
goes
thought
into
that since Vatican II. So it's not just
since John the 23rd, he goes even further back. He's like John the 23rd was a false, but anyway, which was also kind of interesting. And he's a little
because
kooky.
of Vatican II. That's what I mean.
Right. Well, and
John called
does
the Second Vatican Council. So these guys say he must not have been right.
Yeah. So
saying.
that too. And he goes into this like white smoke, black smoke during the conclave thing, which I had never heard before. It was great. But so all that being said, the overwhelming message was that the world is shot through with meaning, and there are these great spiritual powers. There is a spiritual war going on above us. And we human beings, for some reason, play a pivotal role in it. And Mel Gibson's like, my whole career, everything I have tried to produce is trying to understand that. Why is the human person this little puny thing? We get sick, we die, we kill each other. Why are we so important? And that's the whole thing I'm trying to understand through these movies I make. And I think that got under Rogan's skin more than any of the high level 30,000 foot, philosophical explanations he's seen. It was just a really cool interview.
Got under his skin or resonated?
Well, resonated. Thank you. Not like annoyed him, but like,
okay. All right.
Like got past the
his
surface.
interest, got past the surface of it. Right. In a
Made
way
a dent.
made a dent.
So that poses this larger question that I wanted to bring to you, because I've been thinking about it a lot over the weekend. And I'm a Rogan head. I've been very apparent. I've been upfront about that. So shout out Eric Sammons over at, is it Crisis Point?
Yeah, Crisis Point. We love you, Eric.
Asked a good question over the weekend I've been thinking a lot about. Who would be the best Catholic to represent the faith on Joe Rogan's podcast? Too many Catholics first think of people who are very successful in the Catholic world at explaining Catholicism, people like Scott Hahn or Father Mike Schmitz. These apologists are great and do a lot of good, but I don't think they would be the best on a show like Rogan's. To be successful on Rogan, you need to understand the Rogan audience and the Rogan culture. It's best if you are or were a part of that culture. It's very masculine and also very skeptical of institutional claims, including claims by the most influential institution of them all, the Catholic Church. So people who represent the institution like priests or bishops or professors of Catholic theology or even Catholic media figures and podcasters like me would not be taken as seriously. It needs to be a Catholic with no career connection to the church. I don't have anyone in particular in mind, but honestly, I think Mel Gibson did a great job. Even if I disagree with his suggestions of sedevacantism in the episode, his willingness to criticize church officials for covering up sexual abuse and other problems actually gives him credit with Rogan and his audience, so they are more likely to listen to his belief in the resurrection. Someone like Kevin James, who is a comedian like Rogan and a faithful Catholic, might also be good. He actually already did do an episode with Kevin James. I did listen to it. It was good. Do you have any other ideas? Do you guys have any quick thoughts on who would be successful in a place like Rogan?
Like Mark Wahlberg would be, because he's an actor and he could talk about, his journey. I mean, again, the idea, like, you don't want someone who would just be, I think nothing against like Scott Hahn or something like that. You don't want just a traditional, like,
apologist
explains, the Catholic faith necessarily. I don't think that would be as interesting. So like, that's why Mel Gibson or Mark Wahlberg, who's sort of lived that life, which Rogan has from the entertainment world and could speak to. Yeah, but I lived in that entertainment world, but I still I like the Catholic Church's understanding of redemption, and I love Jesus because of this and that. Like, oh, that's actually kind of interesting. More to Joe Rogan, I think it'd be more compelling.
I think Mercer should go on.
No, I think I would like to see a man of the moment right now, but Marcus Freeman, I think, would be a good example of someone I would like to see on there.
You're talking about the Notre Dame coach?
Notre Dame coach. Partially because I think what Erika was describing about what worked on Rogan was that he's clearly authentic. Maybe he's a little crazy, but he clearly penetrated that like surface level of interest. And I think for me as a Rogan listener, I like hearing from Catholics, and I love the J.D. Vance interview for this reason. I like listening to people that are doing excellent things and are well-spoken, masculine, unapologetic about that, that have Catholicism as almost the unspoken North Star of everything that they're doing and an inspiration for them to achieve the excellence.
Even if they don't talk about it 9 to 5 all the time.
Yeah.
I'd say actually, especially if they don't talk about it 9 to 5, because I think as a man, just personally, I'm very skeptical of overly preachy people that talk too much, unless they're a priest, because that's kind of your job. And that honestly might just be a flaw of myself. I'm just saying, for me, I'm more likely to listen to someone and like, oh my gosh, this guy, leader of men, super inspiring, had a cool conversion, brought back an old tradition in Notre Dame. There's something clearly compelling about him. I want to know how that makes him tick, how he's able to accomplish that, and what he credits for the ability to do so.
You want someone who's not thought to be one-dimensional, even if that's not the case. Yes, I agree.